Okay, it's Neil Young, man. What's good, everybody? Welcome into it. We're doing Neil Young ranks, and gonna do it a little different this time. Just gonna stick with a top 10 format. Um, I've been collecting Neil Young records for 15 years or whatever, but kind of off and on. Like every time he releases an album, or every second time I'll pick up one of his older releases, and then I'll pick up the new album, and then I'll miss an album cycle. So it's very sporadic how I collect this guy's music, because he just has too much of it, and that's a good thing though, because unlike most people, I find something fascinating about every release. And I don't really dislike any of them. The only one I remember disliking was Fork in the Road, but that's okay. So don't expect that one on the top 10. Um, Definitely in the future, I would like to do the whole discography, but yeah, there's quite a few I have to hear in general, or I've heard once, and that's never enough to rank them. So number 10 is going to be far too low for most people, but everybody knows this is Nowhere. Of course, this only cracked the top 10 though because Cowgirl in the Sand and Down by the River are, in my opinion, two of the best songs he ever did. And then Cinnamon Girl is really catchy, and that's a great composition. But I got to admit that some of the tracks, like Round and Round, they're not really up to snuff for me personally, and they go on a little bit too long. I do like the title track though, that's a nice one. But yeah, it's mostly on the strength of Cowgirl and Down by the River, which are, two of his most beloved songs ever. Um, Alternatively, this is going to be way too high for a lot of people, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this one because I remember, I guess it was my first real job, and I took my paycheck down to a city close by, and they were going out of business, the CD store, and so you could get three CDs for $30, which is not too bad in Canada. It's not great, but they would retail around $17.99 each or whatever. And I remember I picked up this one, the Cars debut record, and I think it was the Police, Regatta de Blanc. And the only reason why I picked this up is because it said Neil Young on it. I liked the cover. I know that apparently this is supposed to be kind of a joke cover. He's kind of making fun of the protest guys, and I don't think he's making fun of Bruce specifically, but I don't know. I actually just hoped that that's how he dressed at the time, and I literally looked at the cover and Neil Young, yeah, because my dad would listen to Neil Young greatest hits. Okay, Neil Young, and I flipped it over. Rockin' in the Free World. I know that one, and that's the only reason why I picked it up. So number 8 is going to be American Stars and Bars, which I do not have a copy of. Um, Basically, this one is mostly on the strength of like a hurricane. It's got a few really good rockers on it. The tender moments are also really nice as well. But it's mostly that one song propels it up so high. But none of the other songs are any slouch. There's some good material on that one, and basically compiling this list and trying to figure out what my top 10 Neil Young records are made me order it finally, so I'll have it in some capacity. Number 7, if I could, there you go, that's right? Yeah, Hawks and Doves. And this one's got a lot of good ones on it. I can see why it didn't sell very well. They don't tell you even what's on the back. I love Little Wing. That's probably the reason why this is so far up. That's one of my favorite Neil songs. Just musically and the way he sings it, just kind of, I don't know, it breaks me. There's something really tender and touching about it, though it's only about 2 minutes long or so. It's really short. Captain Kennedy is really cool. The Old Homestead. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it falls into place when I finally do, all the Neil Young records or whatever. Number 6. Okay, I was really humming and hawing about this. Should it even make... Because I was doing studio albums, and this is live. They recorded these songs live, and then they, kind of took the crowd cheering and all the, out. And some places list it as a live album still, but it's not a live album in the same way that Weld is, or Live Rust or anything like that. Um, anyway, this one has some of his best kind of tender songs for the first 5 songs, and then the last 4 are just, electric, grunge, kind of made him the godfather of grunge, especially Hey Hey My, Into the Black. Sedan Delivery is just insane. Welfare Mothers is just this big dumb rocker, Crazy Horse doing what they do best, I guess. Powderfinger, a lot of people's one of their favorite Neil songs. I can totally see why. But yeah, stuff like Pocahontas and the My Hey Hey, Ride My Llama even. There's some real tender lyrics. There's some real surreal lyrics on this one. I've always thought of this as one of his best for sure. But yeah, it's really arguable. Is it a live album or a studio album? I think they might have overdubbed something, but it doesn't sound like they messed around with the recordings much other than taking audience sounds out. And even then, you can still kind of hear them every once in a while. But, I mean, the way that King Crimson did their, what was it, Starless and Bible Black record, same kind of deal, record it live and then take all the audience noise out of there. Alright, let's get this right. So number 5 is going to be Sleeps with Angels. And really, there's no album he's done that has quite an atmosphere as this one. Of course, it came out in 1994, and, I think it came out after Kurt Cobain passed away. But there's a really somber atmosphere to it. There's kind of a darkness, a surrealism. But I've never heard a record with the atmosphere this one has. Obviously, there's tons of records with atmosphere, but not the one that this conjures up. It all just sounds like 4 a.m., like a city at night, or a dream that you wake up in the middle of and you don't know what's reality and what isn't. The highlight here is Safeway Cart. I think that propels this one a couple steps higher. What actually keeps it from going one step higher is Piece of Crap, because that song is kind of a piece of crap itself. It's not all bad. It's kind of like Welfare Mothers off the one I was just talking about. It's Crazy Horse just doing their fun off the cuff rockin' stuff, but it doesn't really go with the rest of the record in my opinion. But Sleeps with Angels, that one is great. Change Your Mind, other than Safeway Card, I think Change Your Mind is one of my favorites. And one of my favorite Neil ones overall. Number 4, this for a while was my favorite Neil Young record, and this one, he didn't put it out on CD for the longest time. You could only get it on LP, and then when I started collecting Neil Young, I could only find the CD, and the LP was hard to get, though it's been reissued since. But like a lot of his LPs, it was way too expensive, so I never did put it in the collection, but I would love to one day. This one is one that, kind of like Sleeps with Angels, you have to listen to if you're in the right mood. Obviously, if you want to hear Neil do Harvest and Harvest Moon and Old Man and Down by the River, this isn't the one you put on. It's very depressing. There's 3 songs with the word blues in them. He definitely has the blues. See the Sky About to Rain is beautiful. Walk On is the one moment of kind of optimism. On the Beach is my favorite thing on here by far. It's all great stuff, but you really have to be in the right mood to hear, like, For the Turnstiles and stuff like that. Number 3 is going to be, and this is my folks copy from way back in the day, and it's got this really nice feel to it. Kind of rough cardboard feel. And really, sometimes when I look at this record, I don't think it's one of my favorite Neil records. It's like, oh yeah, that one's got a couple really good highlights off it. But then you listen to it front to back, and especially the A-side in particular, the whole thing is amazing. Like, sometimes I go, oh yeah, Are You Ready for the Country, or Out on the Weekend. Yeah, those are fine songs. But then when you listen to them, and listen to them in conjunction with the rest of it, it's like, wow, those are amazing songs. And the B-side's no slouch either. It gets better as it goes along, though. I think Needle and the Damage Done is great. He sums it all up in 2 minutes. I've seen The Needle and the Damage Done, and he really has. And he would see even darker things as the 70s would go on. And then Words, Between the Lines of Age, is a great one as well. Um, this one's a gatefold. So that's obviously going to get in the way, but yeah, so that's a great one. Alright, so number 2 is going to be, no surprise to anyone that this one's going so high, but After the Gold Rush. And in a lot of ways, my favorite Neil Young record, in that it's the easiest to put on and enjoy. After the Gold Rush, of course, is on here. Only Love Can Break Your Heart, one of my all-time favorites. When You Dance, I Can Really Love is also one of my all-time favorites. Southern Man, you know, just some biting commentary on that one. Don't Let It Bring You Down, oh my god, that one always gets me too. Yeah, other than Cripple Creek Ferry, which I don't know. I don't even see why it's on here. It just pales in comparison to the rest, but I mean, this is just a bona fide classic, probably a 5 out of 5, regardless of what I just said about that song, just on the strength of everything else on here. And yeah, probably his easiest one to listen to for me front to back, though he has so many classics in this discography. And number 1, it's kind of like On the Beach. If you're in a really sunny mood, or you want to hear, you know, FM version of Neil, don't put this one on. This one is dark, and, you know, he's singing about the death of his friend, and it's basically him and all his band at the time, or what was left of them, you know, getting really drunk and just celebrating their buddy's life, and, you know, just telling it like it is. And it's a heartbreaker of a record, you know. Tonight's the Night is definitely catchy because of its refrain, but it's so sad and kind of somber. Come on, baby, let's go downtown. That kind of just sounds like let's go drinking and drink away our sorrows. And you know, it's nice to see him smiling and stuff on the back, and I love this. I mean, that's so iconic to me. I think that was my avatar on some message board years and years ago, and by the time I finally got a copy of this, I was just thrilled. So yeah, that and my number 2 are kind of without contest rather. My favorite ones, though. There are so many Neil records, though, that I would give 4 or 4.5 to, that I really love, but those are my kind of classic, you know, those are 5 out of 5 star. There were so many honorable mentions I could have picked. People would be really surprised, but I love this one. I love Mideast Vacation. When a Lonely Heart Breaks, or When Your Lonely Heart Breaks, that's just tender Neil. Yeah, I love that one. Obviously, I wasn't including live records, but those are 2 of my favorite Neil listens of all time, especially Live Rust. But I love that this one's on 2 CDs, so you just get so many great songs. And of course, he was doing the Ragged Glory stuff, which is, you know, maybe one of his best in the 90s for sure. What else? Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite Neils, but that's a live record, of course. Time Fades Away. Which I paid $60 for, and then they reissued. And if you're looking into getting into Neil, Decade, definitely pick that up. One of the best compilations of all time. Side 1 really covers his before stardom stuff, and it's great. And then, of course, side 2, you start going into the debut solo record, you know, going away from Buffalo Springfield and all that, and going into the first and second record. And yeah, I mean, it's like it says, a decade. It's just a decade of his work, but it's one of the best compilations you could ever listen to, in my opinion. And I almost wanted to include this, not just to piss people off, but because I actually really like this. I get the production's dated, the drums are too loud for people, everything's mixed like it's in, I don't know, like there's reverb on the reverb almost, but I actually really like this record, so. And bringing out all my CDs down there, I mean, I was reminded of Neil stuff I forgot even existed, like the Monsanto years. I remember listening to that when it came out, and then putting it on the shelf, and, you know, never listening to it again. So So yeah, there's a few Neil ones that I haven't heard, which is why I didn't do a extensive list, which would take like an hour anyway. So I thought just the top 10 this time. But yeah, uh, to make a promise that I don't know if I can keep, I probably will somewhere down the line do like a full Neil Young discography ranking, and probably include some live albums. Maybe not all of them. I don't know. He's got like 40 studio albums, and he's got like a dozen or so live albums or official ones, and then there's other stuff and archives and stuff like that. So yeah, please tell me your top 10, Neil. You can tell me how wrong I am, but be nice about it, because we all just have our personal opinions. If you don't like it, move on, but don't say anything too you're so wrong. Like, that kind of stuff always just kind of makes me shake my head when it's like, well, no. Yeah, but Neil Young, can't get much better than that. So thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. I got quite a few more videos scheduled in the pipeline now, so yeah. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in another video. Peace out, everyone. Take care of yourselves.